Hey roamers, we're at Depoe Bay, Oregon, the world's smallest harbor.
I'm Linda.
And I'm Jamie.
And here's what's coming up on this episode of Roaming with Rosie. Traveling from Florence, Oregon up Highway 101 to Newport was both beautiful and a little nerve-wracking for a 13.5-foot high, 40-foot long motorhome and its towed. Going through the 714-foot long Cape Creek Tunnel, which is just 14.5 feet high in the center and only 11.5 feet on the edges, forced us to drive as close to center as possible while holding our breath. Made it. Coming out was a relief, and we were on top of the Cape Creek Bridge. This was the bridge that was so amazing to drive under when we went to Yaquina Head Lighthouse in our last episode. It's no wonder this part of National Scenic Byway is called Devil's Elbow. This section was also known as $500,000 Mile. It was the most expensive mile of road construction in the nation in the 1930s. We use RV Life's Trip Wizard to plan our trips. It makes us aware of road hazards based on the dimensions of our RV setup. Because the Alfa Motorhome was very tall and heavy, it's important that we review our routes ahead of time, and Trip Wizard points out sections of our trip where we need to take precautions or reroute. There's a link with a 25% discount for new members in the description of this and all of our videos, or use this QR code and code Roaming with Rosie. During this part of our trip, we were traveling with our cousins Greg and Marianne and their therapy dog Sadie. We'll be continuing up the Oregon coast with them for the next couple of weeks. We found a site at a Marina RV park in Newport Bay. This was actually pretty cool, except for the 24-hour seal serenade. We'll tell you more about that later. We managed to check off not one, but 2 more lighthouses on our list here in Newport. The first we traveled to was the Yaquina Head Lighthouse. It's located within the Yaquina Head Outstanding Natural Area. This visitor center is much more like a national park with excellent displays, films, and a great staff of rangers, both full-time and seasonal volunteers.
Repair and maintenance work aside, lightkeepers never lost track that their overriding duty was to keep the light burning at all times.
Sadie, gonna be a bark ranger?
You want to be a bark ranger, Sadie?
Sadie's like, is there food involved? We'd heard of the Junior Ranger certificates at national parks and many state parks, but here they have a canine certification. Greg and Marianne were going to make Sadie an official bark ranger. As we finished up in the visitor center, we had just enough time to drive up to the lighthouse. But it was later in the day already, and we hoped to get a tour of that lighthouse. We got there just in time for one of the last tours, which was more of a storytelling by an actor playing the lighthouse keeper.
Okay, so glad you're all here. Hoping that you're interested in becoming lighthouse keepers. Ooh, got some big waves out there today. This is called the oil room. This is where we store the fuel for our apparatus. I have a small sample in a jar here of the type of oil we use. Any guesses on what this might be? Here we are in the rotunda. All the cast iron you see is original to the site. The stairway was built in Portland, Oregon. The I-beams you see came from the Phoenix Iron Works in Philadelphia. And 2 of those I-beams hold the lens that we look at above us. 40 miles apart will be towers, 20-mile lenses inside each tower. We're going to cover the whole coast. Folks, no longer will ship captains have to stop each night.
Yaquina Head stands 162 feet above sea level. At 93 feet, its tower is the tallest on the Oregon coast, and it was first lit in 1873. It continues to aid navigation, and its light can be seen 19 miles out to sea. Being out on this head of the coast was one of the windiest places we've ever been. It was seriously hard to walk. We'll have to show it to you because we could not talk while we were there. In fact, strong winds blew a worker off these bluffs during construction, but his oilskins acted somewhat like a parachute and his injuries were only minor. The next day, we got an early start to head up the coast to Depoe Bay. Good morning. We are up and out the door by 9:30, which isn't really common for Jamie and I. And we're headed to Gracie's Sea Hag in Depoe Bay. My cousins have been raving about it since we started planning this trip. And there's a whole long story about it, which we'll tell you when we get there. We got an early start so we could have breakfast at a long-standing and beloved dive in Depoe Bay. Gracie's Sea Hag opened in 1963. Although we came here for breakfast, the place is known for its famous clam chowder. 1963. Photos and news articles dot the walls as a reminder of what this place has meant to guests from around the world. They came here to eat and meet Gracie, who died in 2015. The bar side is a popular and laid-back dive bar with live entertainment, which, back in the day, was often Gracie herself performing her bottle music.
I started because we couldn't afford live music, and I had all these bar spoons and cowbells and kazoos, anything people would bring me after I first started, washboards, and so I started playing the bottles. And my old saying is, I get a lot of requests, but I play anyway.
People come to Depoe Bay hoping to catch a view of migrating whales, and whale spouts were now being spotted from the shore. The best place to learn about that is the Oregon Park's Whale Watching Center. Perched on the seawall, it offers an outside large viewing deck, and inside you can view through their expansive windows or watch what their cameras are recording on their big screen. Park staff and enthusiastic volunteers help you see them and answer questions, and there's various displays to learn more. I'm at the Depoe Bay Whale Watching Center. It's a state-run, state of Oregon operates it, and there's so much information here. Not only that, we're watching the whales out the windows here. They've got volunteers who are really knowledgeable and they're able to answer any question. They're also recording it on a camera, and they show it on a big screen here, so they can also put it together with just the highlights if people don't have a lot of time, but they're able to tell us everything about what's going on. It's really cool. A lot of hands-on information, especially that's good for kids, and there's some displays where you can touch. So cool stuff for kids, so they don't get bored looking for whales.
About the length of 3 school buses. He also is about the length of a school bus, about 35 to 45 feet long. So these whales are pretty cool. They have a lot of fun behaviors that we like to observe on our coast here. One of which being spouting, and this is the one that we see the most. So it's very soft. So you guys want to touch it? Yeah. Yeah, this is real. So this is what the whales have in their mouths. It's cool, huh?
Depoe Bay's main street is lined with shops and restaurants. We checked out a few and had to get some local saltwater taffy to keep us nourished. Oh, this is their taffy stuff. Since 1947. Licorice. What flavors did you get?
So far I got vanilla, the hot cinnamon, licorice, and then you got banana and root beer?
Banana, root beer, and licorice.
Banana, root beer and licorice.
You can walk over to Depoe Bay itself by going under the bridge, which offers some charming views of the world's smallest harbor. Wasn't there like certain times of day you'd be here when they're coming in and going out because of the tide?
Yeah,
Time at all.
Today they're not doing it because the ocean
Yeah,
is
that's
small.
what the rangers said.
Small vessel.
They haven't been able to for 3 days. We chose to drive around to get a better look at the harbor. Depoe Bay and the world's smallest harbor. Wow. Doesn't seem that small once you're here. Some big boats in here, but man, you see how they get in and out of here is crazy. This really is the world's smallest natural navigable harbor. It covers just 6 acres with a 50-foot wide, 100-foot long channel that connects it to the Pacific Ocean.
We're here at Depoe Bay, Oregon, and for all you movie buffs, if you've ever seen the movie with Jack Nicholson called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, they actually filmed the boat scene where he took all the crazies on the bus and brought them down here to go fishing. This is the bay that they did that at. It was pretty incredible. So if you ever watch that movie again, you know where they filmed it. Another movie that was here is called Sometimes a Great Notion. Sometimes it's called Never Give an Inch because that was their slogan in the movie. They were a bunch of they were a logging family. Henry Fonda was in it, and Paul Newman. That was filmed here as well. So 2 really good movies in the 70s were filmed in this bay.
Returning south, there was another site we wanted to see. Devil's Punch Bowl State Natural Area is named for a hollow rock formation shaped like a huge punch bowl. On its own, it's really pretty, but low tide brings out the sandy floor of the bowl and the arches. The real action, though, is when the surf is rough and higher. We've been told that it slams into this hollow formation with a thundering roar. On the other side of this point is a picturesque sandy beach named for Otter Rock. In fact, there's a big surf shop here, Pure Vida, that gives lessons and rents everything you need to try some California surfing. This beach is excellent for beginners with its consistent waves. In fact, it's said that more people learn to surf at Otter Rock than anywhere else in Oregon. Along with the surf shop here, there's also shops, a winery, including one of those original Moe's Seafood and Chowders. We headed over to the Newport Historic Bayfront to see what was there. This area is buzzing with restaurants, gift shops, galleries, and even fish canneries. Fishermen sell fresh seafood right off the boat when they come in. This tree is at Ripley's, believe it or not. Pretty cool tree. Obviously, there's a lot of Moe's Seafoods here in Oregon. We ate at one the other night. But we're down here in the old historic district of Yaquina Bay, so in Newport. But right down over there, we're at Newport. We're in the old district of Newport Harbor. There's Moe's. But wait, there's Moe's. We've already done one night at Moe's. Okay, about those SeaLions, these obnoxious pinnipeds are the main entertainment here. And now we know what we've been hearing from across the bay at our campsite. So we are camped directly across over there behind those ships. So Port of Newport RV campground there. And we could hear these guys. We couldn't see them. We could hear them kind of very late into the night. But this morning, it was foggy and they were totally silent. So I don't know if they just go out and feed probably then. And then now today later it's sunny and they hang out on the rocks. But I think that this is the females and maybe the young versus what I just showed you is the males all trying to hog the same amount of space and very obnoxiously.
Yeah. What's that, piece of chicken? Yeah. Oh, chicken in the bottom.
He's looking to throw one in. It's very special to be able to visit the Yaquina Bay Lighthouse. It's the second oldest standing lighthouse on the Oregon coast. It's one of the rare lighthouses that was also the keeper's house. And it's the only one of those in Oregon that still exists. It's also the only wooden Oregon lighthouse still standing. And it's believed to be the oldest structure in Newport, Oregon. We're at the Yaquina Bay Lighthouse. This lighthouse is like the first one we've seen where the house and the lighthouse itself are all one structure. This one was only open for 3 years because they discovered that that light wasn't tall enough on the cliff and that it could only be seen from 10 miles out when it needed to be seen from 20 miles out. So after 3 years, they built another lighthouse. That was Yaquina Head that we already went to yesterday. The Yaquina Bay Lighthouse was only active for 3 years, 1871 through 1874. Yaquina Bay Lighthouse was relit and recognized as a privately maintained aid to navigation by the U.S. Coast Guard in 1996. This lens sits 161 feet above the ocean. This lighthouse was used in 1906 as crew quarters for the U.S. Life Saving Service, followed by the U.S. Coast Guard. It was abandoned again in 1933. A year later, those young men with the Civilian Conservation Corps developed the 32 acres and the lighthouse into a public park. And in 1936, a family once again moved in as caretakers. But that didn't last, and in 1951, just as it was about to be demolished, it was saved once again, getting national recognition as a historical place. We were there in 2024. Currently, it's closed through September of 2025 for an historic restoration project. So right now they are getting ready to renovate and make the basement safe for tours.
In 1869, the lighthouse era along the central Oregon coast began. An early settler owned the 36 acres of the lighthouse reservation. He agreed to sell the property to the U.S. government for $500 in gold coin. Construction began in May 1871, and by November, the completed lighthouse stood overlooking the entrance to the harbor. The Yaquina Bay Lighthouse was the first of 4 buildings in Oregon that housed both the light and the keeper's quarters.
If you need an accessible entrance, you'll need to come in the way that Google shows you because that's where their address is, and it says no entry, government entry only, but then you can drive up to here because we had to go up quite a few very steep steps and then some jagged cobblestones to get here. But they said, oh yeah, you can park here if you need to be able to get in without climbing stairs. The lighthouse is located in the Yaquina Bay State Recreation Site here in Newport. It's a beautiful forested bluff with views of Yaquina Bay and the Bay Bridge. There are several trails in the park and one that leads from the lighthouse to a vast sandy beach. But I wanted to see this unusual jetty with waves breaking in the middle of the jetty and rolling all the way down to the bridge. And they don't just break one direction. I've never seen anything like it. The seal ducks are on the other side of those boats there. And we're camped right here. So we heard them until late at night. The Port of Newport RV Park and Marina was an unplanned stay for us, but staying right on Newport Bay ended up being really cool. This park is geared towards boaters and fishermen, and there's 3 different areas to camp in. The main RV park offers nice pull-through and back-end spaces. Many are waterfront. They also have a huge area for dry camping, basically the parking lot. They offer nice clean bathrooms with showers, and we were able to get our laundry done here in their really large laundry room. We invite you to join us on our next travel episode, where Oregon's Nehalem Bay State Park will be our base camp. It's right next to the Pacific Ocean and a short walk from campsite to shore. We'll check another lighthouse off our list with a visit to the unusual Cape Meares Lighthouse. Then things get a little cheesy at the Tillamook Creamery, known throughout the U.S. for their dairy products.
We really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you found it helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family on social media. And if you're not yet a subscriber, make sure and hit that subscribe button.
And as always, hit that little bell because that way you'll be notified whenever we upload new content.
And make sure to leave a comment, that way you could be part of the conversation.
Until next time,
we'll see ya.